is Dr. Perry Carpenter. I'd like to thank you for purchasing this program. This program, entitled The Apportionment Avatar, is your final and complete solution to your apportionment struggles. Let me ask you, do you struggle with your apportionment determination? It's my guess that likely you, like all other qualified medical evaluators, struggle with coming up with your apportionment approximate percentages to tell the parties your opinion of the approximate percentage of the permanent impairment that's due to the industrial injury and the approximate percentage that's due to other factors. And the reason I know that you struggle with this determination is that all of us struggle at times with the QME, with the apportionment determination. You know, I get calls from qualified medical evaluators all the time, and they ask me, how do I come up with my apportionment approximate percentages? I mean, how do I do it? How do I know if it's 60% due to the industrial injury and 40% due to other factors, or 70-30, or 80-20, or 90-10? How do I do it? How do I come up with my percentages? And qualified medical evaluators really have no system, no way, no basis for coming up with apportionment approximate percentages that have any basis in fact and have no basis that they're able to stand behind and support in deposition or even by way of supplemental report. So this system is going to be the solution to your apportionment struggles, because it's going to take you through an exact sequence of events that will help you determine the exact accurate, the exact correct, the exact true, the exact appropriate apportionment approximate percentages for your case and for every single case that crosses your desk. So even before we get into that, let me ask you just philosophically, is there a way to know when you have an examinee who ends up with some permanent impairment, is there a way to know what is the exact true apportionment approximate percentages? Is that even possible? What if you had a crystal ball, or what if you were a higher powered deity such as God? And would it be possible for you as God, as an omniscient God, to be able to provide an opinion on apportionment approximate percentages that was true, that was accurate, that was the most accurate determination for your particular examinee? Is that even possible? Well, I'm here to tell you that using this system, it is possible. And this system has been designed for exactly that purpose, to help you arrive at apportionment approximate percentages that, absent consultation with a higher power and absent an actual crystal ball that would help you determine the true and accurate apportionment approximate percentages, this is as close as you can come to truthful and accurate determinations without actually having access to those higher powers. So this system is going to take you through a sequence of steps and a series of medical decision making that by the time your opinion on the apportionment approximate percentages falls through this series of steps, the opinion that falls out the bottom will be the most accurate, the most true, the most correct, the most appropriate, the most perfect outcome for your particular case that you could possibly arrive at, short of being an omniscient higher power. There is no better way. And I have to tell you that I did not invent the system. I simply began using this system myself some years ago after I learned how to adapt some information that's already well known in the workers' compensation industry to the work that we do as qualified medical evaluators, as we sit at our desk punching out our report and pondering over the difficult decisions such as apportionment. So I'm sure you're going to find this to be a very valuable addition to your very next evaluation. And I have to tell you before we get started that the system that we're about to employ is not easy. It's not easy. It's going to require that you expend considerable mental effort in your medical decision making. But when you go through the process and you finally arrive at the true and accurate apportionment approximate percentages, you can feel confident in knowing that your opinion is something that's substantial. It's something that you can defend. It's something that you can stand behind. It's something that you can be proud of, because your decision will have survived many, many filters, the purpose of which is to discard and filter out opinions on apportionment that are not accurate, that are not truthful, that are not consistent with the facts of the case. So once you finally go through this system and arrive at your apportionment approximate percentages, you can be confident that you can defend your opinion at deposition or even by way of supplemental report. And really, there's nothing any of the parties will be able to contest about your opinion and conclusion, because your opinion and conclusion will be so well supported and so well substantiated that there's really nothing anyone can do. In fact, if they themselves had the opportunity to consider the apportionment approximate percentages, they themselves would probably have come up with the same determination that you came up with if they simply use the same system. Okay, so let's begin today's discussion on the apportionment avatar system. Okay, so let's begin. So anytime that we talk about apportionment, we have to talk about the Escobedo versus Marshall's case and the Escobedo decision, because it's the Escobedo decision that gave us, once and for all, gave us the standards to which our apportionment determination must measure up to in order for that opinion on the apportionment approximate percentages to qualify as an opinion upon which the parties, which meaning the workers' compensation judge, the workers' compensation appeals board, the disability evaluation unit, okay, it's the parties have to have an opinion from us that rises to a certain standard, and that standard is what was described in Escobedo as substantial medical evidence. So according to Escobedo, an opinion on the causation of the apportionment of permanent impairment, in other words, the percentage of impairment caused by the industrial injury and the percentage of permanent impairment caused by other factors, that opinion, first of all, must be framed in terms of reasonable medical probability. Second, it must not be speculative. Number two. Number three, it must be based on pertinent facts. Number four, it must be based on an adequate examination and history. And number five, it must set forth the reasoning in support of its conclusions, whatever those conclusions may be. If those conclusions are 70-30, 80-20, 60-40, whatever the conclusions are, the opinion must set forth the reasoning in support of the 60%. The reasoning in support of the 40%, or if you opine for 70-30, you must explain the reasoning in support of the 70 and the reasoning in support of the 30. It must set forth the reasoning in support of its conclusions. Now it's interesting, all of these criteria, you can think of each one of these criteria as a filter through which your apportionment approximate percentages must pass in order to fall out the bottom of the filters and result in an opinion that qualifies as substantial medical evidence. So what we're going to do with this system is we're going to pass our opinion through each one of these filters, and we're going to determine whether or not our opinion gets stuck or clogged in one of these filters, and we're going to determine if our opinion can pass successfully through all of these filters, in which case, if we have an opinion that successfully passes through each one of these filters, that is the opinion or conclusion that has the greatest likelihood of being the true, accurate, and appropriate determination for your particular examinee. So filter number one is the filter of reasonable medical probability. So when you provide your opinion on the apportionment approximate percentages, you ask yourself, is this opinion based upon reasonable medical probability? Reasonable medical probability means that that opinion has a 51% or greater likelihood of being correct. So if you just throw out some apportionment approximate percentages and ask yourself, do these approximate percentages have a 51% or greater likelihood of being correct? Your answer may be no. Your answer may be no. That opinion does not have a 51% or greater likelihood of being correct, in which case that opinion gets stuck in the filter of reasonable medical probability. Now, if you can successfully say, yes, this opinion does have a greater than 51% likelihood of being correct, then your opinion will be said to have survived the filter of reasonable medical probability. The next filter is the filter of speculation. When you look at your apportionment opinion, you ask yourself, is this based on any speculation? Am I guessing here? Am I conjecturing here? Is there any surmise? Is there any speculation involved with this apportionment approximate percentages? And if your opinion, if the answer to that question is in any way yes, in other words, if there's any speculation involved, your opinion will get clogged in the filter of speculation. Now, only opinions that are not based on speculation, but rather that are based on pertinent facts, will pass through the speculation filter, will pass through the filter of pertinent facts. So when you provide for an apportionment approximate percentages, you ask yourself, what are the facts upon which these percentages are based? What are the facts that support a 60% opinion of the impairment due to the industrial injury? And what are the facts that support a 40% impairment due to other factors opinion? It must be based on voluminous and compelling facts in order for your opinion to successfully pass through the filter. For your opinion on apportionment approximate percentages must be based on an adequate examination and on an adequate history. So in the history-taking portion of your interview with the examinee, you must have answers to many, many questions that support your apportionment approximate percentages. If you're apportioning a significant percentage of the permanent impairment to other factors, you should have the history very, very well established with regards to those other factors. So your opinion must be based on an adequate history. It must also be based on an adequate examination. Now, when we talk about an adequate examination is an examination that exactly follows the procedures that are described in the AMA guides. And if you're apportioning a significant percentage of the permanent impairment due to other factors, that apportionment opinion should be supported by positive objective physical examination findings in your physical examination of the examinee. That would also include support from any diagnostic studies that you ordered in connection with your evaluation. Only when your apportionment approximate percentages are based on compelling and voluminous facts from the history and compelling and voluminous findings from the physical examination can your opinion successfully survive this filter. Finally, your opinion must set forth the reasoning in support of its conclusions. It must set forth the reasoning why you opine for 60% versus 55% versus 50% versus 65% of the impairment due to the industrial injury. And it must set forth the reasoning in support of your opinion for 40% versus 35% versus 45% of impairment due to other factors. And when you read the reasons in support of your apportionment approximate percentages, you yourself have to be convinced that those reasons are compelling, that those reasons actually do support the conclusion. So there's two types of reasons. There's plain Jane reasons, and second, there are reasons that actually support the conclusion. Similarly, there's two types of facts. There are facts in general, and there are pertinent facts that are relevant to the apportionment determination. Not all facts are pertinent facts. Not all reasoning is supportive reasoning. So your reasoning must support your conclusions. And if you can follow this 5-step formula, your opinion, if it survives these 5 filters, the opinion that falls out the bottom of the filters will likely be the most accurate and the most correct determination that anyone could possibly arrive at, short of having a crystal ball or a consultation with an omniscient higher being. So imagine you're at your computer and you're grappling with the apportionment approximate percentages. Well, here are some possibilities across this top row of your apportionment approximate percentages. You could opine that 100% of the permanent impairment is due to the industrial injury. And on the other end of the spectrum, you could possibly opine that 0% of the permanent impairment is due to the industrial injury and 100% is due to other factors. Or you may be considering some apportionment determination at some point in between, whether it be 90-10, 80-20, 20-80, 10-90, or any number in between, even considering numbers in between these numbers, such as 95-5 or 35-75. But this row here represents a small collection of your options for your apportionment approximate percentages. Well, you're going to take each one of these approximate percentages and run it through the filter of reasonable medical probability. And as you run these approximate percentages through this filter, you're going to see that some of these percentages drop off because you cannot substantiate them with the facts that you have at your disposal. You cannot substantiate those apportionment approximate percentages with a 51% or greater likelihood of being correct. So this first filter is going to clog up several of these possibilities that you are considering in your initial consideration. And what's left are some remaining apportionment approximate percentages that have a 51% or likelihood chance of being correct. In other words, these are some opinions here, 100-0, 60-40, 50-50, whatever. These are some opinions that you feel that are likely correct and that you have at least some support for. You have some support for a 100-0 determination. But on the other hand, you also have some support for a 0-100% determination. Well, if both of those have some support, perhaps it's possible that a 50-50 determination is correct, or it could be that both the industrial injury and other factors contribute to the permanent impairment, but in your opinion, the industrial injury contributed the greater percentage, or perhaps you could have the opinion that the industrial injury had the lesser percentage and the other factors had the higher percentage. So some of your opinions are going to drop out, and what remains are the remaining opinions that have some support and that you're able to support at least initially here in your initial consideration. So then we take these remaining numbers that survive the filter of reasonable medical probability, and we're now going to send those numbers through the filter of relevant facts. And as you pass the numbers through the filter of relevant facts, some of these numbers are going to drop off and get clogged up in this filter. And what remains will be the only percentages that you're able to support with some relevant facts from the history, relevant facts from the medical records, relevant facts regarding the mechanism of injury, relevant facts regarding the examinee's response to medical treatment, relevant facts regarding the examinee's diagnostic studies. In other words, the opinions that survive the filter of relevant facts are those opinions and conclusions that have some basis in actual facts that you can point out to the parties or cite in references that you have at your disposal. Okay? Well, we continue along with our formula from the Escobedo case, and we take these remaining surviving apportionment approximate percentages and we send them through the next filter, the filter of an adequate history. And we determine which of the apportionment approximate percentages are supported based upon the history that we took. And we're getting our possibilities down to fewer and fewer possibilities as we pass our percentages down through this series of filters. Well, we then ask ourselves, are these apportionment approximate percentages supported by adequate examination? Do we have examination findings to support a lesser percentage of the impairment due to the industrial injury and a greater percentage due to other factors? Or do we have examination findings that suggest, or history findings and examination findings to support that 0% of the permanent impairment is due to the industrial injury and 100% is due to other factors? And these are just examples of surviving numbers. Well, as we pass our numbers through the filter of adequate examination, we have one more filter to go, and that is the filter of speculation, surmise, conjecture, or guess. And you ask yourself, is this apportionment approximate percentage of 60-40 based in any way upon guess, surmise, conjecture? If I was at a deposition and one of the parties asked me to support my approximate percentages of 40-60, would my answer in any way incorporate speculation? If the answer is yes, then this opinion will get clogged up in the filter, and only the opinions that are not based on speculation, that are not incorporating guesses, that are not involving conjecture, will fall out the bottom of the filter, and this is the apportionment approximate percentage that has survived the truth filters. These are truth filters. And this is an apportionment approximate percentage that has as its basis truth, that has as its basis accuracy, that has as its basis correctness, because it's based on relevant facts, because it's based on an adequate history, because it's based on findings from the physical exam, because it's based on 51% or greater likelihood of being correct, because it's not based on guess, conjecture, surmise, or speculation. This is the opinion that the very best, most omniscient power would have come up with if they were asked the same question that you were asked with. So you can feel confident that this opinion that survives the filters is the accurate, true, and honest apportionment determination for your particular examinee. Now, when it comes time to report your apportionment approximate percentages to the parties in the body of your report, in the apportionment section of your report, you would simply cut and paste the following language. And really, your description of your apportionment opinion can get no better than this exact language. Okay? So you'll begin your discussion by stating, in my opinion, and within reasonable medical probability. So right off the bat, you predicate your opinion on reasonable medical probability, which indicates to the parties that your opinion has a greater than 51% likelihood of being the correct and accurate opinion. So in my opinion and within reasonable medical probability, X percentage, whatever you determine that may be, X percentage of the permanent impairment is due to the industrial injury, and X percentage is due to other factors. And then you bring about the support for your opinion. And you tell the parties, reasons for this conclusion include, and here comes a list of bullet points with your reasons. Number one, reason number one, this is right out of Escobedo. Reasonable medical probability. My opinion on the above apportionment approximate percentages, 60-40, 70-30, whatever it is, fill in the blanks here, is predicated on reasonable medical probability. Thus, my opinion has a 51% or greater likelihood of being the correct and accurate determination in this case. And don't fill in any numbers over here that aren't 51% or greater likelihood of being correct. Don't fill in some half-baked numbers over here that are just some outcome that you're trying to orchestrate for one or more of the parties. Always seek the true and accurate apportionment percentages. Number two, pertinent facts. The facts relevant to the above apportionment approximate percentages upon which I rely include, and here list in bullet point list, the compelling and voluminous facts that support your apportionment approximate percentages. Now, this is just a list, but these are some of the important considerations that go into your apportionment determination. Facts related to the mechanism of injury. Facts related to the examinee's response to appropriate medical care. Facts related to the examinee's pre-existing conditions, if any. Facts related to a prior industrial injury. This considers apportionment under Labor Code 4663. Facts related to any prior permanent disability award. This considers apportionment to Labor Code 4664. Facts that you derived from your history-taking interview with the examinee that support your apportionment approximate percentages would go here. Findings from the physical examination which support your apportionment approximate percentages go here. Now again, facts are not the same as relevant facts. So don't just list here some facts. They must be facts that are related and are relevant and support your percentages, whether your percentages are 60-40, 50-50, 70-30, whatever. These facts must support those percentages. And then you provide your how and why reasoning, which is basically just a summary that encapsulates all of the facts and all of the information upon which your apportionment approximate percentages are based. And as you review your how and why reasoning, your how and why reasoning, first of all, must convince you, that it's solid and cogent and clear reasoning that supports your final opinion on the apportionment percentages. And then finally, you tell the parties that your opinion is not based on speculation. The above opinion on the apportionment approximate percentages is not based on guess, speculation, surmise, or conjecture. And really what you've gone through here in this 8 or 10-step procedure is you've taken the time, effort, and energy to demonstrate first to yourself and then secondly to the parties that your opinion is an opinion that qualifies as substantial medical evidence. Now, it's not easy to qualify your opinion as substantial medical evidence, but if you are able to qualify your opinion as substantial medical evidence by going through this 10-step procedure, the opinion that falls out the bottom of these filters is an opinion that you can then quote in your report, knowing that this opinion is most likely the most accurate and the most correct determination that any person, any skilled evaluator would come up with in the context of the same facts and the same information that you have at your disposal. So doctors, I hope this helps you. This is a system that you can use on your very next case that involves permanent impairment. And what this system does, basically, if you think about it, is it takes the findings from Escobedo. And if you remember, the Escobedo was a case that was an en banc decision. So en banc decisions have the distinction of being binding precedent on workers' compensation judges and on appeals boards throughout the state of California. So these en banc decisions basically describe the way these issues are to be handled. And in this case, the issue is the apportionment approximate percentages. So Escobedo told us that our opinion must qualify as substantial medical evidence. And the 10 steps that I've provided for you here in this system is a way for you to assess your opinion, and to determine if indeed your opinion qualifies as substantial medical evidence. So in order to qualify your opinion as substantial medical evidence, you simply pass it through the filters that are defined by Escobedo as substantiating filters. The filter of reasonable medical probability, the filter of pertinent facts, the filter of adequate examination. You pass it through each one of these filters. And opinions that are not true, that are not accurate, that are made up, that are fabricated, that are phony, that are opinions that are attempting to orchestrate an outcome for one or more of the parties will get clogged in the filters because you won't be able to support that opinion. Why won't you be able to support the opinion? Why won't the opinion pass through the filters? Because the opinion is not true. It's not accurate. Only true and accurate opinions will fall through the bottom of the filters and will survive the filtration process. This is a system that's been devised by the courts to establish evidence, right? The courts review evidence all day, every day, throughout the entire history of courts. They review evidence, and they have to parse out evidence into two types of evidence. Evidence that is substantial evidence upon which they can rely, and evidence which is not substantial. It's the opinion is not based on anything based in fact, based in accuracy of history. It's not a substantial opinion. So the courts have established these criteria. The purpose of these criteria is to allow us to arrive at the truth, Substantial opinions, especially on apportionment, are basically the truthful, final, bottom line opinion that any other reasonable evaluator would arrive at if they reviewed the same or similar information as to what you had available to you. So this requires some mental effort on your part. When you put down your apportionment approximate percentages, you need to go physically through this procedure, take the time and the effort and expend the energy necessary to run your opinion through each one of these filters and think about whether or not your opinion is surviving that filter or not, whether or not your opinion is based in any way on speculation, whether or not you have adequate examination findings to support your opinion and conclusion. When you can satisfy each of those criteria, shazam, you've arrived at the true and accurate apportionment approximate percentages. So doctors, I hope this helps you, and I hope this makes the apportionment process for you much easier for now and for each and every case in your long future as a qualified medical evaluator. So this is Dr. Perry Carpenter. I want to thank you for purchasing this program.